Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Saturday. Special bonus episode. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers needed a win on Friday. LeBron James made sure they got it. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. And obviously, Andy, sometimes on Saturdays, because that's what it is for a lot of you right now. Always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, where you can go hang out with around 22,000 subscribers to the channel. And all of them are, I guess, happy the Lakers won on Friday. Perhaps not thrilled with how they did it, but Andy, very likely pleased with the effort of LeBron James, who just keeps doing. People maybe get you get sick of hearing, oh, it's in year 21. Look at all it's like. It's astonishing what this guy is doing this deep into his career. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, 13 of 22 from the floor, 5 of 9 from 3-point range. He had a couple steals just for fun, and he was just dominant, really, certainly on the offensive side of the ball as an orchestrator, as a scorer. And he made sure the Lakers came away with a win that they needed to have against a weak Blazers team.
Yeah, there was a point where Billy Mack during the Spectrum's Sportsnet broadcast noted that LeBron had just notched his 7th assist. And my immediate reaction was, it feels like he has way more. I'm like, there's no way he only has 7 assists. And I think it was in part because, D'Angelo Russell had 6 assists in this game. Austin Reeves had 4. Like, there were other guys doing some playmaking, but it felt like LeBron was a conductor in this game, and the rest of the guys out there were just a basketball version of an orchestra. Like, he was the guy that it felt like, not that it's unusual to say this about LeBron James, but this was a night where, in particular, it felt like he was fully in charge of the offense, and he was the one running everything. You mentioned the idea of, stop me if you've heard this before, but season 21 pushing 39, unprecedented, yada, yada. I often like to find signposts to put things in perspective. When LeBron made his NBA debut, October 29th, 2003, the number one movie in America, Scary Movie 3, the number one song in America, Baby Boy by Beyonce, and George W. Bush was still president in his first term, the first of his 2 terms. You may have noted, if you're even just a political casual, there have been a few presidents since W and a few administrations since W. Like, it's amazing to think about doing something, doing anything for this long of a stretch, like being a musician, like a rock star with a 20-year career of excellence. Hard to do. You think about somebody like Martin Scorsese, making the type of movies that he's making at 80, like, difficult to do. Somebody year in, year out for now 2 decades plus doing this like LeBron in any field, but in particular sports, it's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah. And, certainly in basketball, there have been guys who played when they were, pushing 40, but nobody,
Kevin Willis was not doing this.
No, he was not.
Vince Carter, Dirk Nowitzki, the guys, pushing into seasons 20. I think Kevin Garnett was one of those guys.
Not like
Kareem, Kareem, even, who was still prolific in his, he was a productive guy in his final season.
Not like this.
Nothing close to this.
No. And it's just it is one of those things that should always be noted, like always. And so we will. It wasn't his was not the only good performance of the night. I thought Anthony Davis, who was, not wildly efficient offensively, got back to having an impact after. Certainly it was significantly better on Friday than he was on Wednesday against the Kings. He finished with 16 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, 3 steals. Certainly made a real impression. Cam Reddish only had 8 points, but was all over the place defensively. He had 3 steals. D'Angelo, you mentioned, 14 and 6. Christian Wood had his best game in the last few with a double-double, 10 and 10.
He was 0 for 3 from behind the arc, but I really liked how he got himself going early on in this game with points around the basket, either on putbacks or getting set up down low. Just he needs to see the ball go in the basket, and it doesn't really matter how. As much as we've talked about Christian Wood doing the dirty work and the little things and stuff that you expect from a role player, they do need him to score. So it would, and I think he is starting to feel a little bit aimless out there. It seems like at times, or not even aimless, but like not quite sure what he's bringing to the table. So it was nice to see this from Wood.
Yeah. And so, look, I mean, we've gone through some of the superlative performances, maybe, but like overall, I don't know about you. I found this to be a necessary, periodically workmanlike, but ultimately unsatisfying win. The Lakers seem to break out of their worst habit, which is getting off to a terrible start, and then I just introduced a new one, giving up leads. They got off to a big, looked like they could even bury Portland early. But by the end of the first quarter, the Blazers were back in it. And every time the Lakers pushed out up until, the kind of the final run in the fourth quarter, they let Portland come back into the game. They never pushed it, turned a 12-point lead into 18 or 22 or 24. To where they were playing with that 15, 16, 17-point lead fairly consistently. There was an opportunity to do that, and they didn't. I thought they got sloppy. I thought they
the third quarter in particular.
Yeah.
Third quarter in particular, they got seriously sloppy.
It was not a great win. It was a necessary win, and I never felt like they were going to lose the game, but they could have put this one away pretty early, and they didn't.
This is what I would say. I mean, first of all, if you're somebody keeping track of LeBron and AD's minutes, every single minute they play unnecessarily, or at least theoretically unnecessarily, feels like, a big picture loss. Although, as we saw after the way they dispatched Memphis on the first end of that back-to-back, everybody got rest. Felt like a great way to enter the second end of the back-to-back against Sacramento. Yeah. That theory didn't hold.
No.
But it does. Anytime you have a game against a really bad opponent, and LeBron and AD really do have to play 35 minutes if you want to make sure they win, even if it feels like they shouldn't have to, and they shouldn't, that's a loss. And the other thing too is, if you were looking for evidence of them having any type of kind of come to Jesus moment after how disappointing they really were against Sacramento. Not even that they lost to Sacramento, but the way they lost to Sacramento. Yes. This game would maybe constitute, if you want to take the come to Jesus metaphor, then deciding, what, we should find a church to go to.
Yeah,
let's all
go to church. I'll go to church, but I'm sitting in the back row and I'm going to be on my phone the whole time.
Exactly. I'm not listening.
I am checking checking my fantasy football scores the entire time.
One thing I did want to mention though, with
go ahead.
Quickly, is just Darvin was asked about AD's health after the game, and he kind of talked around it, but I think implied pretty heavily that AD is battling through some discomfort. Summarizing what he said, he checks in with AD all the time, checked in with him this morning being Friday morning, that said that maybe he got kicked in the shin. I'm guessing he was referring to during the Kings game, but he wasn't that specific. Said that AD wants to play all the time, whether he feels 100% or not. He's got a lot of pride. The team appreciates him making himself available. Only AD can really say how he feels, but the team would not put him out there if he was in any real danger of actually bringing injury onto himself. Noted that his line was a very solid AD night. He's there for us. He's always going to be there for them. And he's trying to set a defensive tone. But it made it pretty clear, at least to me, that
I agree. 100%.
AD is battling some stuff right now.
And that's why this game was so important. It's why the Utah game in particular, Houston on Sunday, home game, Lakers have played well there. Obviously, LeBron, even after the game, pointed out like this is a team that lit them up. So I think they want to kind of get something back against the Rockets this weekend. The Rockets who continue to play well. And so there's that, but then you look past it, then you got Utah coming up after that. It's like you got to win these games against the bad teams. And I know I was not calling this a great win, but I did call it a very necessary win. And the only thing that's maybe perhaps more frustrating than not winning a game or than winning a game like this in less than impressive form is losing it. And so the Lakers did what they needed to do. They are not a good. Let me rephrase that. They are not a great team yet. And if you win games like this, you give yourself the space to continue to build to something, to play around with lineups, to try to become your best selves. And to your AD point, Andy, you give yourself space that if you need to sit Anthony Davis down or LeBron down for two games, 3 games, or whatever, you can do it without, looking at the standings going, this could really screw us. We have to. No, they're 7-6. They have a chance to be, realistically have a chance to be 9-6, before the road, the teeth of the road trip. Okay. I'm not thrilled yet, but it could be worse.
No, they have not been super impressive, but they have also not gotten themselves in any trouble during this period where they're trying to figure themselves out. And that's really the best that you can do. Want to let people know really quick. We have launched the Locked On Lakers subtext channel, and it's an opportunity for our listeners, our viewers, people who just have followed our coverage for years to get even more connection with us, more back and forth with us, extra content, extra communication, one-on-one interactions between us. There's going to be subscriber mailbags that will inevitably shape this show. We'll be providing game commentary, again, interacting with everybody one-on-one.
Because I'm learning how this is going to work as you describe the things that we're going to do.
There's a free 14-day trial for this, so go to joinsubtext, subtext.com/LockedOnLakers. We're really excited to give this thing a go and hopefully just have even more opportunities to connect with our audience that we're always very appreciative of. Speaking of appreciation, really enjoyed the reaction and comments in the YouTube section to the show we did about media coverage of Austin Reeves, by extension of D'Angelo Russell, and just sort of these dynamics that go into it. People appreciating that we took on, an uncomfortable subject, because a lot of it, does get back to race and things like that. Really awesome reaction to it. So thank you guys.
Yeah. And we, it's one of those shows too, that as soon as you're done, there's this, and then there's this, and like maybe we'll revisit it because, I thought of like 5 other things, 3-segment show. We didn't want to use the whole thing on that topic, but you're showering, a few hours later, you're like, oh man, I wish I had thought about that too. But anyway, so game on Sunday against Houston, a big one for the Lakers, a chance to beat a team that's playing well before this very winnable Utah game after that. And so obviously we will have a show for you guys there. We'll have a show for you after the game on Wednesday as we get into the holiday. So plenty to look forward to, Andy, but also something to look forward to. This.
The Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. And when I was about 12 or so, the Police were on the Synchronicity Tour. The Police were the biggest band in the world. This was a really hot ticket, hard to get seats. And I gave up pretty early. And I thought, you know what? It's not a big deal. I'll just catch the next time the Police are on tour. Well, they broke up right after the Synchronicity Tour.
Because you didn't go.
Because I didn't go. Sting said he can't do this anymore. And I learned that day, when it comes to a concert, carpe diem, do not miss out. And that's why I love Game Time. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy shows, theater near you. They got killer deals on last minute tickets, the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets, start getting hyped for the fun. And the Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It is the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. So snag the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off that first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Locked On Lakers also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, Andy, you score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and now we're moving into this section of like it's getting real in the NFL. We're starting to we've got double-digit weeks now. We're not in like week 1, week 2, week 3. We're in the stuff that really matters, and new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options available. You can bet on spreads. You can bet on player props, over unders, and more. Like, you want to bet LeBron, 75-1 to win MVP. I bet a few people, Andy, after Friday night's game, if he keeps this thing up. So yeah, that's not a bad number for LeBron. 75-1, AD 40-1. NFL games this weekend. Are you a Raider fan? A long tortured Raider fan? You get 13.5 points against the Dolphins this week. I don't think that's enough. So lots of stuff to follow and get into with FanDuel. You go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get rolling in this NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. We will see everybody on Monday.